To the crisis in the Middle East, and another United Nations school was bombed in Gaza today. Another 15 Palestinian people are dead. A preliminary UN investigation shows that attack came from Israeli forces, a claim that's not yet confirmed nor denied by Israel. NBC's Ayman Mohyeddin is in Gaza now with the latest.
Palestinian medical sources are saying it was an Israeli barrage of shells that landed in the Shijaiya market this afternoon that killed at least 15 Palestinians and injured dozens more. Now, according to both eyewitnesses and photographers at the scene, as well as health officials at Gaza City's main hospital, artillery shells were the initial cause of the explosions there, but that was followed up by mortar rounds that landed as the people were running away. Again, that's according to Palestinian sources here in Gaza. The Israeli military has yet to comment on that specific incident, but it also comes on a day that the Israeli military is coming under heavy criticism from the United Nations. The United Nations confirmed this morning that one of its schools came under attack, according to its own investigation from the Israeli military.
Our initial assessment is that it was Israeli artillery that hit our school. We condemn in the strongest possible terms this serious violation of international law.
That led to the killing of at least 15 Palestinians and injuring at least 100 more. Now, the Israeli military has so far said that it was responding to fire coming from the vicinity of the school, but in addition to that, it had not yet claimed or denied responsibility for the attack.
We're up against a huge challenge, and clearly there can be tragic results that we have seen.
A lot of trading of accusations, but the United Nations' own internal investigation so far says the responsibility for today's killing, deadly killing at the school, lies with the Israeli military. Ayman Mohyeddin, NBC News, Gaza.
And joining us to talk more about that is journalist and TV host Lynn White and Dr. Jackie Guzda, who's a media communications professor at Western Connecticut University. It's great to see you both today. The thing is, there were 3,300 Palestinians who had taken refuge in that school. In many cases, families are getting warnings from Israel. Your building, your apartment building, is going to be targeted. And where do they have to go? They go to the United Nations school as a refuge. These are supposed to be safe havens. And clearly, if it's struck today and it was struck last week, they're not. Does this put the United States' strong support of Israel somehow on fragile, thin ice at all?
I don't think anyone who is a human being can watch this and not react. And I think as an ally of Israel, inherently we have to protect Israel's right to exist. But at the same time, there's that human aspect that we have to look at and try to eradicate. I mean, how many more days of this can go on? The UN is placing the blame on Israel, but what are they doing to change it? What are they doing to stop the violence? What are we doing to stop the violence?
You know, Jackie, I have a very good friend who is leaving Israel right now because of the danger of incoming rockets and things like that. His dad was visiting him, and he expressed to me in the strongest terms that that you don't know what it's like to constantly be on guard against these falling mortars, these falling rockets by Hamas. At the same time, you look at the difference in the death toll and you think, you know, when the United Nations is stepping up and pointing fingers at Israel, surely there are questions that must result by Israel's allies.
Of course there is. Look, the rockets that are falling are not as bad as what Israel, unfortunately, is doing to the Palestinians. We give Israel $3 billion a year in military aid, and they're using that right now, and that's why you have a death toll of almost 1,300 of Palestinians, and at last count, 35, mostly Israeli soldiers on the other side.
Also, we help to finance their Iron Dome, which prevents them from getting rocket attacks, much like what you're seeing in Palestine. The big deal here is this. We're about to appropriate in September, if it's passed in Congress, and bets are on that it will, $225 million more to that Iron Dome. Could that money be better spent here at home on roads, on bridges? What about our Iron Dome? We don't even have one. So I think we have to reshift our priorities. What about the humanitarian efforts that are going to be needed after this destruction?
The interesting thing about this, though, is when we're looking at the video, and there's so much compelling video, when you see a mother grieving over her child lost on a beach, there's no way that you can't feel for her. And yet at the same time, what we're seeing is unwavering support in what may be a first time by Israel's Arab allies, led by Egypt. You have a coalition of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, among others, that are standing with Israel in its fight against Hamas. Does this say that the temperature may be shifting against militant Islamists?
I don't really think so. I mean, I think that they are anti-Hamas. Hamas has always had a problem with Egypt. The Rafah Gate going into Egypt is closed to those people of Gaza. I think what we have to do is look at, as Lynn said, the humanitarian aspect of all of this. Before this incursion happened, the people of Gaza were not under occupation, per se, as they are in the West Bank. However, they had no freedom of movement. The air going into Gaza, the water, everything was cut off. Israel had them in an open-air prison. The reason that Hamas is fighting is because they don't want the people to live in this prison anymore. They are vowed to fight to the death. Right. And who's getting hurt are those innocent civilians.
We have been told just today that Governor Cuomo is toying with the idea of accepting an invitation by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to visit Israel and show New York's strong support of that state. What are the pros and the cons for Cuomo of making potentially a trip like that? Jackie?
Well, it could be political suicide for him. If he doesn't support Israel unequivocally, he can just kiss the governorship goodbye. I mean, in this issue, it's not always a sensical issue. You've got people who feel towards Israel. They might be Jewish. They support the cause. And then you have people on the other side, as Lynn was talking about, who see this humanitarian crisis, who say that it goes above countries and religion.
Right.
Let's help these people.
I want to talk a little bit about President Obama and the European Union now making stricter sanctions against Russia, against Vladimir Putin. Apparently there is some reluctance, though, to commit military assistance in strong form to the Ukrainian government to deal with these rebels because they don't want to provoke Russia. Isn't it too late for that? Isn't Russia already provoked?
Well, we have no business being there. Where's our money going to come from? Where's the military support to do that? Right now, we've got a lot of stuff going on in our own backyard, and we need to pay attention to that.
And finally, tonight, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that has just passed the House. By a resolution of 225 to 201, the House has voted now to sue President Obama because of executive actions he took about delaying the employer mandate on health care reform.
Which is what the Republicans wanted, right?
Right. And they went ahead and passed it after it was done. It never reached the Senate, so President Obama never had to sign the action he'd already installed. So is this just politics? You've got the House suing the president?
Well, the Democrats tried to do that before, and it didn't work for them so well. But also you have the Republicans who are for tort reform now, right? Frivolous lawsuits being tossed out. And what's this going on? I think this is the precursor to what they really want,
is impeachment.
Which is impeachment,
right?
Which is that stain on Obama that they've been seeking since the day he took office.
And will they get it, Jackie?
Well,
what do you think?
to quote George Bush, bring it on. Because of this impeachment threat, there's been so much money raised by the Democratic Party in the last few days, and there are no basic charges, real charges, to sue the man on.
Yeah, it's
their cause. They hate health care.
Yeah.
He was trying to help them.
Yeah.
And so sue me, as the president said.
We'll see how far this gets in any court of law. Who knows? It may go all the way. It may get tossed out in the first step.
By the way, who's paying for it?
Right.
You and I, taxpayers.
Well, and we'll see how much reaction that gets to lawmakers when they go home to their districts.
At least they're doing something.
For summer break, right?
Yeah.
Jackie, Lynn, thank you so much.